Fox. In year one, Fox kept the Falcons' MAC tournament streak alive and doubled down on culture and academics after engineering a dramatic turnaround in Morehead State and aiding High Point's rise. Let's talk identity. Let's talk here with Chris Rise here this morning.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. We appreciate everything you do for the sport.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you're doing there at Bowling Green. Let's talk about this Bowling Green side. You've taken this year two. Had a great run of it last year. Let's talk about how things are starting off the year for you in 2025.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic start to the season. Really, really excited about where we're at right now. It's like one of those things that you can't predict. I couldn't have predicted how things went last season. I knew that going into year two, obviously the players have had a lot more time with you as a coach, understanding the system, philosophy. You're able to bring in a couple more of the players that suit and fit the system that you're trying to implement. And they've been doing really, really well. We had a great spring, and that's continued into the fall season.
They talk about turning programs around. That's exactly what you did at Morehead State. By the way, hi, I'm Nate. Welcome onto the show. Glad to have you on. They called you, at least in your bio on the website, that you're the architect of that turnaround. I find it interesting, though, because you come into Bowling Green, and there is a reputation there. I mean, 8 straight appearances in the MAC tournament. There's a standard that's the longest such streak in the entire conference. So there is something there. So you're coming into a program where there has been motion for a little bit. You're adding to that. But what elements of that turnaround that you had at Morehead State are you trying to bring with you into this experience in Bowling Green, really into just year two?
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously very different jobs and very different situations. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think, Morehead had finished bottom and second bottom in the previous couple of years and, was struggling when it came to wins. I felt like there was a lot of potential there. Obviously took a little bit of a risk. Wasn't expecting the turnaround to be as fast as it was by any means. And that's just a testament to my staff that I had, the players, the leadership on the team, the culture. And then obviously taking over at Bowling Green, just very different situation. Like you said, a legacy of championships, a lot of success. I think the most successful program in the MAC. But it was definitely, I think for me, it's about implementing, your philosophy on the field as well as off the field from a cultural perspective. So that's what I was looking to bring. And, I think I was blessed. The previous staff had recruited a lot of players that fit what I was trying to do. Already had a competitive culture for sure. And so certainly made things easier. But, year one's always tough, right? Like you've got a new team, new players, all trying to learn what you want. While the staff is also trying to learn the league and understand what the MAC is all about. And it's you've obviously had a lot of MAC coaches on here already. It's a very, very tough league, incredible amount of parity. There's no easy games whatsoever. So that experience for myself, last season, understanding the coaches, understanding what they're trying to do has certainly helped as we progress into year two.
Did you sense the buy-in from the players that were already there when you first got on campus? Because I know that's important to develop those relationships right away.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was great. I think they were all really interested, and obviously from a cultural perspective, it takes time. I'm sure there were question marks at times, right? Like when things weren't going as well as we'd hoped. And I think last season was one of those. Like we had a lot of injury problems that may have been undocumented. We had a lot of people. I think this season, 5 players that redshirted last season that are now back. A lot of injuries, and then we had a player that went pro like in the summer that was kind of unexpected. So we're a little light in the forward line, and I think when a team is used to success and winning games, and now we're tying games, losing games that we probably shouldn't have done. Even though they wouldn't admit it, I'm sure there was question marks in their mind. And one of the things I kept on saying is that, luck is going to turn. Luck is going to turn. This can't keep happening. It can't keep happening. And unfortunately, it did last season. And maybe this season, we've got a little bit more luck on our side.
We talk a lot about here as we've talked with coaches across the country. We've talked about the dynamics that have changed in college soccer and obviously women's soccer as well. And how rosters changes and the transfer portal and all those things. Obviously, you're in your second year. This truly, really isn't quite your team yet, right? You're still in that process of building the Chris Fox team that fits into Bowling Green. How is that looking like right now for you as you're out on that recruitment road trying to find the next player here to kind of fit into your mold? Because That's what you're doing right now. You're trying to fit players into that new mold.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I think it's really difficult, to be honest, because I think we got up to like 45th in the RPI when that was released this season, which was whether that's accurate or not, right? We'll take it, we'll market it, but that's where we want to be. We want to be a top 50 side. We want to be competing at those levels, and to do that, you need to be able to recruit the players that fit your system and also have the qualities that you need to compete at that level. And I think. So then who you're competing with for those players, and it's a pretty uneven playing field at times. And as you go through, you're trying to recruit like incoming classes. You're losing out sometimes to programs, Power 4 programs, and then the same with the when it comes to the transfer portal. Like I've had a decent amount of success with that. Like a couple of the players I brought in have been. 3 players in particular have been starters for us and have been fantastic in what we've been trying to do. But I think what people don't see is all of the phone calls, all of the visits, and all of the no's that you get along the way to try and get those players. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting landscape. Still trying to figure out exactly what works for us and whether that's. I don't want to be a team that's transfer heavy. I want there to be a nice balance because. Sometimes you have a team of mercenaries, right? They're coming in for 1 or 2 years. I like people that, coming in for at least 2-3 years, 4 years if they're freshmen and, really want to be at Bowling Green, buy into the culture, love the school, love the community. And then mix it in with internationals as well. Like I think it helps with standards, culture, playing style, game intelligence, things like that.
Speaking on recruiting, I think fit's one of the most important things. And I know, JT, you like to ask this question, so I don't mean to cut you in line, but I am curious when you're recruiting and you're out on the trail and you talked about going toe-to-toe with certain programs and trying to convince players to buy into what your vision is. I would imagine that takes up the majority of your time as a coach, and then you have to worry about winning games at the same time. That's why it's so difficult, because you kind of have your finger on the pulse of all of that. What is it that you are looking for in players that are coming to Bowling Green to play? What are you looking for as a head coach and as someone in that recruiting chair?
Yeah, I pride myself on being transparent with, my current team, current crop of players, as well as recruits. And, we have obviously a lot of phone calls before we bring people to campus, trying to cultivate and build those relationships. And then once they get to campus, it's obviously about what everybody does and showing them the school, the facilities, the community, and what Bowling Green's all about. And then we have a presentation that is very detailed. And, I think for us and for me, it's about, we're a positional play side. We want to possess the ball. We've been pretty successful at that. And in order to bring that to life, you need very technical, very intelligent players. And you've got to be bought in. You've got to be learning all the time and know what's coming. I mean, we do film review twice a week as a team. We do scouts a week. We obviously have individual film and small group film. And there's just lots of learning that takes place. It's not about coming in and just hitting the field, competing and playing. And so you've just got to have the right mindset. Are you here to grow? Are you here to develop? Because there's freedom within the structure, but it's a very structured system, and it takes the right type of personality and player to obviously find success.
We had a chance to talk with obviously a number of coaches in the MAC. We've talked with Buffalo, and we had a chance to talk with Toledo last week. We're kind of trying to get as many people and coaches from the conferences as we can, because we like to have an understanding of the game at the conference level. And because, again, I think there's this, if you are a fan of soccer, you might be more familiar with Big Ten soccer, more familiar, with the ACC. You might be more familiar with, the out on the West Coast and down south, just because those are the Power 5 type schools, because we're so used to hearing those names and those schools. How is Bowling Green trying to continue to stay, I would say, make it a destination school, right? Because we talk about that a lot. You have players out there when they're thinking about playing at the next level. I don't know if Bowling Green or Ball State or Buffalo is like their dream school, right? Unless you grew up in those towns, right? You're dreaming of playing maybe for Stanford on the women's side, maybe North Carolina, right? So how is Bowling Green trying to compete to get that type of player to think about that Bowling Green could be their dream school?
It's a great question, and I'm sure everyone has their own take on it. I think you're 100% right. Like, obviously, I think everyone's dreaming of the UNCs, the Dukes, the Stanfords of the world, the Penn States, and I think it comes down to, when we're in the mix and talking to recruits, like, a lot of times they are talking to similar programs, like at our level and obviously above. And so what we're trying to do is separate and, I guess, differentiate what makes us special. And I think Bowling Green is a fantastic town. Like, it's a great college town, campus community. There's our fan base is tremendous. The community's great, very supportive. I think we've got lots of support within the athletic department that really want to see you be successful. I think I was very attracted by that with the people in particular, especially the athletic director. I think he has a clear vision. The president of the school, the enrollment is record numbers right now, and I think that's something that's maybe not happening across the country, and in terms of not having enough beds sometimes for all of the students that are enrolling. And so that growth was exciting, and I think what you're going to get then from a soccer perspective, and I think what differentiates us is, our culture. I think I say that to everybody I talk to, that our culture is the foundation of everything that we're about. And I think, if you have a positive culture, I think that ultimately then helps teams, from the mindset, the mental side, then that helps them perform at the highest level, both individually and technically. So I think it's the culture, and then it's the playing style. I think, some would deem my philosophy a risk with our building and the amount of passes and where we pass the ball and everything else. But it's what I believe in. And I think, obviously a lot of teams in the club environment try and possess and try and play. And I think you're probably aware, like, even at the highest level, the Division I women's soccer game can be pretty direct, pretty transitional about physicality and athletes. So we're just trying to differentiate ourselves there for people that want to play. And then I think, there's obviously the pathway to pro as well. Myself, my staff were pretty connected internationally. I think we've had 10 players in the last 5 years that have gone on to play professionally. I had a number when I was at High Point as well. And so I think those are the things. It's the culture, the playing style, and the pathway to pro.
I'm going to put you on the spot here really quick. I know our producer, Ryan, wants to ask a question, but what's your favorite success story as a coach so far?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be what we were able to accomplish at Morehead State for sure. Like, I think, taking a team that finished second bottom in the previous 2 years to, like, I think it was third in semifinals in year one, and then second in championship win in year two. And again, that was a testament, honestly, to the players. Like, they're the ones that bought in, like, the captains, the leadership group, what they did to kind of raise the standards and drive people forward and galvanize the group off the field. Just testament to them. But no, super, super exciting and super proud of the accomplishments that myself and my staff had there.
Hey, Coach. Ryan here. I am a CMU grad, and I did all of CMU athletics, so I did all of CMU women's soccer games last year. Exciting game last year, and I saw you got your revenge yesterday.
Not exciting for us.
But my question for you is I was most impressed with your side, covering 4 or 5 or 6 different MAC games. I was really impressed with what you did. And, being a first-year head coach, like, I was not really expecting the way that you guys played in that game. Butera was fantastic in that game. Stransky was fantastic in that game. There's another player, but I know I'm going to butcher her name because I butchered it the entire time last year, but her first name was Alexis. But my question for you is, what was the early struggles in kind of implementing your system? You mentioned that you want to be a very possessive team, and if I was a coach, I'd love to play that way as well. But what was the early struggles with that system? Did you kind of, butt some heads with a couple of the players? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, thank you for the compliment first off. Yeah, that was one of the games we certainly wanted to get back last season. A difficult one. I think we had 75% possession and had 2 shots against us on goal and conceded 2 goals. It's like, what is happening here? But no, I think there definitely wasn't any butting of heads. I think, the philosophy is very detailed. It's very in depth, and we ask a lot of them from a tactical approach. And I think it just takes time. And I think last year we were so good in possession, but I didn't feel like we had a killer instinct. And at times we could be too patient with the ball. We'd be going side to side and not recognizing the moments to like, hey, we've found the spare player, we've got space, how do we go forwards? And so just like minor adjustments, like as a coach, like you have to evolve too, right? You have to evolve to the players that you have to understand the league. And so I think that's the difference when you look at last season's performance and this season's performance. Like we're still the same team, we're still possession oriented, we're still playing through the third, but I think we've developed more of a killer instinct and creating varieties of chances and different ways to hurt teams. And then I think secondly, we've tightened up defensively, add a little bit more protection. Like I said, with the league being transitional at times, maybe we were too open last season and gave away silly goals. So, one of those adjustments is we've gone from playing with one holding mid to two holding mids, just to give you that little bit from a rest defense perspective, a little bit more protection. But then also, a little bit more dynamism and dynamic play in the final third. So I think, just to couple that with, players' experience and new players coming in, I think it's been really good.
We always end our interviews here on Inside the Game talking about food. We think it's what brings people together. I make this comment, I think, every day, but the only thing that really brings people apart when it comes to food is whether or not pineapple should go on your pizza. That would be the only real thing, I think. But
yes.
With that being said, obviously your second year Bowling Green, he says no to pineapple on pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's emphatically emphatic.
It was funny. John Cena actually said, I'm not a big fan. I'm not using a lot of John Cena quotes in my life, but this one I actually saw the other day. He said that there's one way to get me to not to have a slice of your pizza, that's to have pineapple on it. So if you don't want to have anyone's grab that slice, just put some pineapple on it, and that pizza's probably safe from that person. But with that being said, you're obviously second year Bowling Green. You're making your way on campus. Where is it that you found is a great place to go after a game or get ready for a game to have a good meal?
In Bowling Green in particular, like I loved a place called Juniper. Like it's kind of an interesting spot. Like it's kind of a coffee shop and a brewery and a restaurant all in one. So like you could go in the middle of the day and you've got some people having a beer and some people having a coffee. But no, I think they've got great coffee, great beer, great food, really, really cool spot. And so that would be my go-to in Bowling Green.
Ooh, all right.
That's actually really cool. Really cool.
A beer and a coffee simultaneously.
Probably not together, but it depends on the time of day.
That is definitely a crime. But hey, no crime here. Chris, we appreciate you stopping on by here today. We wish you and Bowling Green much success here the rest of the way. Currently 7-1-3 overall, 2-0-2 in the MAC. Again, you beat Central Michigan University here yesterday 4-0. I'm really excited about that, by the way.
That does not get a horn. That does not get a horn.
It does. That's because Ryan is here to our left, and so yes, we can actually give him some.
Sorry, Ryan.
He wasn't accepted to Western. That's why he went to Central, according to Lewis Robinson. So just
I didn't even apply to Western. I applied to Bowling Green though. I got in there.
I love that.
Chris, have a great rest of your day, and again, much success here the rest of the way.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
See you. That's Chris Fox here from the head coach of the women's Bowling Green program in the MAC. Again, they're doing really well. I mean.